found it. Um, first of all, welcome. Lots of new names and faces in here, so I love that. I love that we have some new people, and I hope more people will show up as we go along. My name is Elizabeth. I am an Optavia coach, and I have lost 160 pounds using the Optavia program. I started in June of 2022, and on September 25th of 2023, I started my very first week of transition. At that point, I had lost 153 pounds. And through the transition process, I dropped another 7, which is not unusual for a lot of people. I also chose not to have my BMI weight as my goal weight because for several reasons. One of them is that I have never, I mean, probably since I was 10, weighed what my BMI says I should weigh. The other reason is, so I know that if I were to weigh that number, I would not look healthy. The second reason is because I was over 300 pounds for a long time. I have a lot of extra skin, and that extra skin has weight. And if I were to deduct what I think all that extra skin weighs, I'm pretty darn close to my BMI. So that's kind of mentally where I am. And full disclosure, had an appointment last Thursday morning, and I am doing one thing for myself, and I'm having the excess skin, my bat wings are going away. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not a person like a plastic surgeon person. I probably would never get a tummy tuck. Those things don't really matter to me, but I want to wear short sleeves, and I'm very conscious about what my arms look like. And my husband is very supportive. And my daughter-in-law works for a plastic surgeon. Her mother, they used to work for the same plastic surgery group. Her mom also works, she's a coordinator, scheduler. Well, her mom, one of the plastic surgeons went off on his own practice, and her mom went and worked with him, and he's the one that's actually going to do my surgery. And when I went in to see him, and I went to see her because she does the scheduling, she said, he told all of the girls in the office like a week ago that he would not give, the only person he would discount plastic surgery for was Cindy, because she's been with him for so long. He's discounting my surgery. And I'm thrilled because he doesn't even do it for his own. So I think he felt bad enough for me that he was willing to do it. So May 14th or 15th, something like that, is surgery day for me. I'm really excited about that. It's a Tuesday, so I will not be doing a live that night. Unless I'm on pain medication, maybe I'll just show up and it will be fun. But anyway, that's a few months ago. But I just thought I'd share that fun little news because you know me, I live in the light and I share everything. So that's a little bit about me. I am thrilled that we have a lot of people here today, and I know that a lot of you are really interested in how do I handle what I eat when I get to maintenance, right? So we're going to skip over the transition part because that's a whole different animal. We've talked about this before. Last week in our life book, we talked about life book element 16 last week, right? Was it 16 or 15? One of those two. And at the end of the session, I said, maybe we'll meet next week, if somebody has something they want to talk about, Well, the next day, somebody said, and I don't know if whoever it was is in here, said, you really need to do actually, I think she's not. I think she has a conflict and she couldn't be here tonight. You really should do a talk where you tell us how to figure out our TEEs and how to figure out our macros. And I was like, oh, all right, that's what we're going to do on Tuesday night. So here we go. Let's talk about it. So first of all, before we talk about the TE, let's talk about macros. What are macros? Macros are, our body uses two kinds of nutrients: micronutrients, all those little vitamins and minerals, and then macronutrients. And macro means large, and they are the three large nutrient sources that your body needs. Three categories: carbohydrates, fats, proteins. Those are the macros. They're the large category of nutrients that you need. So we'll talk about each individual one. I'll kind of explain a lot of this. You probably all know. Carbohydrates are your body's preferred source of energy. So if you've watched any of the great videos that are on YouTube out there by people other than me, there's some really great ones out there. I know I'm pretty awesome, but you know, theirs are pretty good too. Your body's preferred, like the first thing your body is going to burn is going to be carbohydrates. You need them to keep your body from breaking down muscle. So you want to provide your body with carbohydrates so that it has fuel to burn, which is why very low carbohydrate diets can be very dangerous and can be harmful to your muscular system. What's the word? Anyway, your muscles, because you're not giving them enough food. So your body could start to break down muscle if you're not providing enough carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates, those are great. They are the ones that you get from whole grains, from fruits, from legumes, beans, those things. Your body is going to use those things first, and then they're going to be stored temporarily in your muscles for food. If your body doesn't burn those, guess what it becomes? It doesn't become muscle, it becomes fat, which is why you want to make sure that you don't have too many carbs, that you don't eat more carbs than your body has the ability to burn. Otherwise, that's going to turn into fat. They also help to control blood sugar and help provide a healthy gut biome so that everything flows nicely, you know, poop. It's good to have those things. So carbohydrates are not bad. And I think just, you know, we go through cycles dietary wise, culturally. You know, back when I was a young kid, it was, you know, fat was the enemy and everything had to be low fat. And you know, come to find out, fat's not all bad for you, and your body needs to have some fat in order to function. We'll talk about fat in a little bit, but the one thing you really need to avoid are the refined carbs. So those are the carbs that come from sugars and refined food products. They are like, you know, an energy drink, something like that. They are a good source of quick energy. And it's not bad to have those sometimes if you're going to burn them right away. So have an energy drink before you work out, or, you know, something that's higher in sugar before you go climb a mountain, because you're going to burn that off. The danger comes that we live in a society that eats so many refined carbohydrates that we're not active enough to burn them off, and we just continually get fatter. So, that's carbohydrates. We'll talk about how many you should have in a little bit. Protein, protein is your source of your essential amino acids. Those come from proteins. If you are eating a high protein diet and you're not doing a lot of strenuous exercise, you don't need additional sources of essential amino acids. You can have them if you want them, but most of our necessary essential amino acids, and Dr. A even says it in Habits of Health, is that we really don't need essential amino acids because we get what we need from lean protein, as long as we're eating enough lean protein. We need protein in order to build muscle. It also regulates our immune system. It helps provide energy, and it helps to transport nutrients throughout our circulatory system. It helps repair tissue, maintain fluid balance, And our need for protein is determined by our fitness level. So the more active you are, the more protein you need, which is why some of you who are really active, even in weight loss, added additional protein, and why Optavia also did the essential amino acids for those who are active. So people who were already doing a lot of working out. I know I've talked to people who were, they teach cardio classes, and were already involved in like Orange Theory or whatever all those big fitness things are. You know, when you are super active like that, you might need to have additional protein. So that's where your protein comes from. Fats are essential for producing hormones. We all need them. Structure for our cells. It helps to regulate blood temperature and improve nutrient absorption. They are a source of long-lasting energy, and they are our body's preferred energy source when we're at rest or we're moderately active. So fat is actually good for those of us who are not as active. Having a little bit of extra fat occasionally is fine. It's our body's preferred source of energy. So you have to determine what are your goals when you are in maintenance. Are you planning on building muscle? You know, you want to do weightlifting and build muscle, then increase your protein. Use the EAAs. Those are things that are going to help to build muscle. If you are more into endurance, you're a runner, you do cross-country skiing, you know, so anything that would be endurance, then you'd want to have more carbohydrates. So you kind of need to, when you're trying to determine what is my macro balance need to be, there's not one range that is good for everybody because everybody is different. I work from home. I get on my recumbent bike a few times a day. I may go for a walk with my granddaughter. We just bought electric bikes, so I try to ride my bike. Like I'm not an endurance person, and I'm not a weightlifter. So my goal really isn't to gain muscle. It's just to be healthy. That's just really is my goal, just to be healthy. So I'm not looking to have like a ton of protein or a ton of carbohydrates, but I'm going to lean a little bit more towards more protein because I would rather work towards building muscle than work on endurance. So that's kind of when I figured my range, and I kind of set mine up. That's what I looked at, was probably a little more heavy on the protein because the activity that I do would hopefully help to build some muscle. One thing that I do want to also talk about before we look at how to figure out your TEE is the quality of the food that you eat. This is something that I preach a lot, and it is so important that we let go of the processed foods that we used to eat, and we focus on putting into our bodies foods that are really high in nutritional value. So we're eating those whole proteins, those like whole pieces of chicken and fish, and not chopped up into a patty, right? With other ingredients, fillers, who knows what all is in there. You know, Trader Joe's may have delicious meatballs, but there's stuff in them that's not clean protein. They're fish patties, they're mahi burgers. I actually have some in my freezer that I bought, and I ate 2 of them, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't do this. It's not just fish. A piece of mahi is much more appealing to me than a burger. Are they faster to cook? No, it's about the same amount of time. A piece of fish takes maybe 10 minutes to cook. So you're not really saving any time by buying something that is prepackaged. Also, as I've said many times, if you read Habits of Health and you read the Life book, you will see where Dr. A says processed foods are terrible for you. They are detrimental to your brain, to your circulatory system, to your heart. They are not, and they're a documentary on Netflix talked about how processed foods like sausage and bacon and hot dog are one of the leading causes of cancer. And just those chemicals, the nitrates and all the things that they put in those products are just not good for you. If you can focus more on eating whole sources of protein, whole vegetables, whole grains, those types of things, you are going to promote a more well-balanced diet. The other thing is you are more accountable to yourself. Like it kind of holds you a little bit more, I think, at least for me, it holds me a little bit more accountable to myself for putting good foods into my body and ensures my long-term success, which is really important. I know occasionally I'm going to go through and if I see that your speaker is actually on, don't be offended if I all of a sudden mute you, because if you've got noise going on in the background, we can all hear that. And I don't mind if you have a question and you need to unmute yourself so that you can ask a question. Please feel free to do that. Interrupt me at any time. I never mind if someone all of a sudden just chimes in and says, hey, stop talking. If you are tracking what you eat, and this is the importance, somebody said the other day, well, I don't want to track what I eat for the rest of my life, and that's fine. But I know I'm going to track what I eat because when I gain 2 pounds, I want to know why I went off track. I want to know, what did I eat the day before or 2 days before that caused my weight to go up? So Sunday, granddaughter's birthday, went over there. I had a slice of pizza, cheese pizza, and a big salad. And then when they did birthday cake, I had a very thin little slice of birthday cake. The next day, my weight was the same, but today, my weight was actually up a pound. And I'm pretty sure, because I know I was spot on what I ate yesterday. I was actually a little bit low in calories yesterday. And I'm sure that it just took an extra day for that cake to catch up to me. But, it was fine. And I'm sure that tomorrow, my weight's going to be right back down because yesterday I got right back to what I normally eat. And today I'm drinking lots of water and all of those things get flushed out of my system. And I don't do that very often. It's very rare for me to have processed sugar with that. But because I record everything, I know exactly what I ate and where I might have gone wrong and what I need to correct to.
Why looks for me at every tower candidate works.
I found it, I think. There we go. All right. Hopefully I found it. All right. Also, it also helps you to learn about the nutritional value of foods, like what foods are really high in protein, what foods are really high in carbohydrates, where can you find the balance so that if you're going to eat something that's high in carbs, you might also want to make sure that you have some protein as well. Fruit is delicious, but it's really high in carbohydrates. So when you have fruit, it's a good idea to balance it with some protein as well. So often when I have fruit, it's also alongside of a dairy product or egg whites or something else that's higher in protein to kind of give a little bit of balance for me. Knowledge is power. And the more you can read and the more you can just open your mind to learning a new way. It doesn't matter how old you are. I am 58, going on 59, and it's never too old to, I'm never too old to learn new things. And honestly, I have to learn a new way of eating in order to actually keep the weight off. So I'm constantly learning and constantly reading these books. I was not, I think I told you guys, or some of you who have been around since the beginning of the Zoom calls, I wasn't a big fan of self-help books. I'm still not a big fan of self-help books. I'm not a touchy-feely, fill out the journal kind of person. So the life book was harder for me to get into. Habits of Health, I've loved from the beginning, because as a teacher, gaining knowledge has always been really important to me. But I will tell you that when I made the commitment to all of you guys to go through the life book with you, and I really started actually reading the life book and simultaneously reading Habits of Health, like finding where there was overlap here and where it was referring to Habits of Health and going and reading it. Even though I don't fill in all of the fill in the blank stuff in the life book, the knowledge that I'm getting about myself and my understanding of my own body and how my own body is working through this whole maintenance thing, I think the more power I have, the more understanding that I have, and so I cannot stress enough how important these books are. They're very, very important. They are one of the 4 key elements of this whole program. Your fuelings, of course, to get you to your healthy weight, your coach, your cheerleader, right? These books, all of the Optavia information is so important. And then on top of that, community. And it's why we do things like this, why we get together and sit around and talk about things that interest us or that we need to know more information about. So don't ignore the books. I think they are highly, highly important. So let's talk about your TEE. I had asked you guys to come to this session with the TDEE calculator.net. I got to scroll back in my thing to find where I have mine, because I have it open on my phone because I use it all the time for other people. But let me explain a couple of things. For me, I talked about this at the beginning. There are several different calculators. Optavia has one on the app that you can go to. I prefer this one, and I'll tell you why I prefer it in just a minute. They all give kind of similar numbers, but they're not all exactly the same, and I'm not sure why that is. But if I were to figure out my TEE, it says that I should have like right around 1,900 calories a day. And I tell you flat out, if I eat 1,400 calories a day every day, I can't keep the weight down. I have to eat below 1,400 calories. So I'm not sure why there's such a huge discrepancy, because I even put in even sedentary, which I'm not sedentary. Even if I put in sedentary, it still gives me this number that's like 1,785 or something. And I'm like, I can't eat that many calories. I know I can't. And part of the reason I believe that the site to open, Diane and everybody else, is T as in Tom, D as in David, E as in Edward, E as in Edward. So TDEE calculator.net. So that's the site, the website. You can do it on your computer, you can do it on your phone. I believe that the reason why is that my weight is taking into consideration all of this extra everything that I have, right? And I don't need to eat to support all of that loose skin and tissue. Thank you, Lisa. I mean, as I said, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian or anything like that. But it seems to me, to my common sense, that even though I am this weight, I'm carrying weight that I really don't need to support with calories. Does that make sense? So what I did over the first couple of weeks of maintenance is I had to find that sweet spot of how many calories can I really eat and not gain weight. And for me, that top end is really 1,400 calories, which is almost 500 calories less than what they say I should eat. That's a pretty big discrepancy. But I don't think it's the calculator's fault. I think these calculators don't take into account the fact that some of us have excess tissue that is still hanging around that's probably not going anywhere anytime soon, but I don't need to eat to support it. What I need to eat to support is my muscles and my circulatory system and my respiratory system. And, that's what I need to eat to support. So on that page, you're going to enter whether you're male or female, your age, and you all can go and do that right now. I'm going to do that at the same time. You're going to enter your weight. You're going to enter your height. I'm putting in sedentary. The body fat part is optional. And yeah, and if I say sedentary, it tells me that 1767 is the amount of calories. So that's 367 calories I know that I can eat and still maintain my weight, right? What I love about this, and the reason why I like this particular calculator, is if you will keep scrolling down the page, you're going to see a macro range. And it's going to give you macronutrients for maintenance, for cutting, and for bulking. And I think cutting is people who want to lose muscle, and bulking is people who want to gain muscle, something like that. I don't know. I don't understand all those things. I only care about the maintenance part. If you're a weightlifter or bodybuilder, then you want to worry about those other ones. But not only does it give you those three options, but it also gives you a moderate carb, a low carb, and a higher carb. So if you are endurance runner, look at that higher carb macro range. If you are more, you want to do higher protein because you're not as active, do the lower carb one. I kind of sit somewhere in between the lower and moderate, just because I do a little higher protein, but not quite. I may be a little bit more closer to the moderate, definitely closer to the moderate than I am to the high. But I also played with the percentages when I went on to the Prosper app to put in my macros. So the first thing you have to do, that's the very first step, determine your TDEE, all right? Then I would also tell you, once you see that number, you don't have to worry about the numbers itself until you get to maintenance. So you don't have to worry about counting calories or anything while you are on weight loss or on transition, because in weight loss, you're eating pretty much 900 to 1,000 calories. It's really like 900 calories. It's very rare that you would eat 1,000 calories, but you're eating about 900 calories a day. Each week of maintenance, of transition, you're adding about 100 calories, sometimes 50. The first week, you're really only adding 50. The vegetables are pretty low in calories. Fruit, you may be a little closer to 100. It's going to be, by the time you get to week 4, you'll have added about I would say you probably add about 300 calories by the time you get to week 4. So you're eating at about 1,200 calories right there. And I would encourage you, once you get to maintenance, don't add more than 100 calories a week. So add 100 calories for a week, see how your body does at 1,300. Then add 100 calories a day for a week and see how your body does at 1,400, and just kind of gradually, if you see the number on the scale go up, that's when you know, oh, that's probably not a good calorie range for me, or you need to increase your activity. You know, you kind of have to figure it out that way. But it should be a very gradual process that you add back those calories. I think sometimes people get into trouble with gaining weight in maintenance because they try to add back too much too fast. And so you want to make sure for sure that you're doing this very, very slowly. Any questions so far? No? Wow. Really? All right.
I can if you want me to.
I would love questions. I need to like stop talking so much.
I was just curious how long you did transition for. Did you take 6 weeks or 8 weeks or?
I did it in 6. I probably, in hindsight, now that I've done more reading, I probably should have taken longer, because I'm one of those people that was on the program for a really long time. So there's some people who come on the program, they lose 25 pounds, they lose 40 pounds. You know, it takes them 6 months. They're on the program 4 months, 6 months, something like that. Doing transition in 6 weeks, probably perfect for them. I was on the program for over a year. I probably should have done it slower, but that was not suggested to me by my coach, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I was totally fine. And I still lost weight while I was in transition. And the reason why I lost, and I did want to touch on that really quickly, you know, you lose weight when your body is, when you're taking in fewer calories than your body needs to maintain, right? So if you're eating below your TEE and you're eating well enough below your TEE for long enough, you're going to lose weight, because you're not eating enough to sustain, you know, you're not eating enough for your body's burning through everything that you eat, and then it burns through fat, right? So because I continued to eat below that calorie level, I continued to lose. Now that I have found that spot where I want to be, weight-wise, then I am watching my weight, and as I've said many times, I weigh every single day. I weigh in the morning and I weigh at night. And the reason why I weigh at night is because there's a number on the scale that I don't ever want to see again, and that holds me accountable. If I see that number at night, then I know the next day I really need to buckle down, and I need to get myself back down to where I need to be, where I'm happy. So, but that's me. I totally admit that I have food addiction problems. I don't have body dysmorphia. I don't obsess over the scale, but I do want to make sure that's my accountability of, I'm going to stay at this weight and I'm not going to go any higher than this. I want to stay below that. So, but I do recommend that you are weighing more than once a week, especially for the first month or so, until you find that calorie range that you know you can eat and stay within a good range. And then, you know, if you feel like, yeah, I can just weigh once a week and be good, more power to you, do it. You know, when I go on vacation, I don't take the scale with me. So, you know, there are times where I don't weigh myself every day, and I'm fine with that. But I do weigh myself every day, and I really encourage that when you're going through maintenance, the first part of maintenance, the first few weeks at least, just to make sure that you are staying on track. So how do you establish your percentages? So I looked this up online. There is an acceptable macronutrient distribution range. It's called the AMDR. And it says you should have 45 to 65% of your calories should come from carbohydrates. So you've got a range, 45 to 65. If you look at Habits of Health on page 293, he says 50%, 40 to 50. So it's similar. The AMDR says 45 to 65. So he says 40 to 50% of your calories should come from carbohydrates. The AMDR says 25 to 35% should come from fat. On 302 of Habits of Health, he says 20 to 30. So it's close, it's not quite the same. He's a little bit lower, that's all right. So 25 to 35% from fat. And then protein, he said Habits of Health says 20 to 25%. That's on page 303 of Habits of Health. And the AMDR says 10 to 35% should come from protein. So for me, because I want to be a little high on the higher end of protein and on the lower end of carbohydrates, I do 45%, which is the lowest of carbs. So 45% of my calories come from carbohydrates, which puts me actually right in the middle of Dr. A's range. I do 25% from fat. And so again, I'm like right in the middle of Dr. A's range. And I do 30% from protein, which is a little higher than he says, but because he says 20 to 25%. But that's the range that I do for myself. And so you kind of have to think about, well, what do I want? How do I want to break mine up? Do I want higher protein? Do I want higher carbs? Whatever your percentages are, I would choose from within those ranges and then just obviously make sure that it adds up to 100%. So just again, I will say 45 to 65 from carbs, 10 to 35 from protein, 25 to 35 from fat. So remember, if you're really active, you want to go on the higher end of the carbs. If you are not as active, you want to go a little on the higher end of the protein. So, and I would also play around with it a little bit over time. Yes, so I'm going to go over that in just a second, Diane, and tell you how to figure that out, because there is a way to figure it out. It's a little math, but you can do it. And I teach English, so if I can do math, anybody can do math. Just don't ask me to do geometry, because that terrifies me. So I would say, just kind of play around with, for the first couple of weeks, maybe adjust your carbohydrates down a little bit or up a little bit, depending on what your body does as you start into maintenance. So how do you figure out, this is an excellent question, how do you figure out calories based on that? So 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates has 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. So I figured out, first of all, 1,400 calories was my calorie that I was going to go for, my calorie range, right? So that's my TEE. I'm going to say 1,400 is my TEE. So I want 45% of that, which comes out to 630 calories or 157 grams. So I took the 45, I multiplied 1,400. So whatever your calorie, total daily calorie is, multiply that by whatever the percentage is, right? To
For
get
each of the categories.
the number of calories for that. So if I multiply 1400 by 0.45, I get 630. So that's the number of calories I can have from carbs. I multiplied it times 0.30 and got 420. That's the calories from protein. And then I multiplied it by 0.25 and I got the total calories that I could have from fat. All right. Does that make sense? And then I just divided my carbs and protein, since each of those is 1 gram. Every 4 calories is 1 gram of protein or carbs. If you just divide the carbs and proteins by 4, that'll give you the number of grams that you can have. And divide your fat by 9, and that will give you the grams of fat you can have. So little math, but not hard. Let me tell you again. Take the total number of calories and multiply it by point whatever percent is that you're doing. So 0.45, 0.10, 0.25, whatever. And that's going to give you the number of calories for each one of those things. And then divide those numbers by 4 for carbs and protein, and 9 for the fat to let you know how many grams you can have. All right. Does anybody have questions on that? Awesome. So my total carbs tells me 157 grams of carbs, and the moderate carb that I have on the TDEE calculator is 155. So I'm really good. My carbs really match. It said, this tells me 133 grams of protein, but I'm only having 105. Like that's where I am. And my fat is way lower than their fat. So, I know why, because this is set at 1797. That's why, 1767. So, but I did all the math. And when I go to the Prosper app, and that's the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So I had asked you guys to download the Prosper app. So I'm going to show you, it's this little icon right here. If you haven't downloaded, it's purple. And it's that. Here we go. If you can see it, it's right where my finger is with my really bad manicure. It needs to be repaired. All right. So if you go to the Prosper app, hopefully you've already downloaded it. The best way I can tell you to go in and adjust your macros to fit what you need is, so you go to the home page, right? And on your day, click on the circle that has the daily range on it. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me to the page that lists all of my macros. It lists everything on there, all of the nutrients. So then at the top of the page, I'm going to click on edit. And that's where I'm going to go to set my range. So you can see I've got mine set for 1400. I've got my protein at 105, my carbs at 157, and my fat at 39. And I did that. That's based on the math that I just did when I figured out my percentages. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anybody have questions on that one? If you, so you do that, and what I would say is do that and try, a week or so. So I'm going to tell you how to do the whole program here in just a second, but leave your macros like that for a week or two and just see how your body does. And then if you have to go in and adjust the fat up a little bit, or the carbs up a little bit, or down a little bit, or whatever, you can do that. Just go back to these percentages, and instead of doing 50% of carbs, go down to 45, and go up 5% on something else. Give yourself a little more protein and a little less carbs, and see if that makes a difference. So there's no, as I said, there's no right percentage, there's no right range for every person. There's just a range of numbers for each one that you just kind of have to find what works best for you, because we are all different. We all have different activity levels. We're all, we're all made up of more or less muscle. It really does depend on your body's makeup. So set those ranges, and then how do you determine what you're going to eat? And honestly, it is a lot of, again, thinking about what is your day like? What is a typical day like for you? When you are planning what you're going to eat, one of the major habits that hopefully you formed was eating 6 times a day, every hour and a half. We've lost several people, and I just want to say that I'm glad that whoever was Optavia is not here, because they honestly were making me a little bit nervous.
Not knowing.
Maybe they'll watch the recording and hear me say that. But I was just like, I don't understand who Optavia is. Is Optavia really in here, like checking me out to make sure that I'm legit? Anyway, so I'm glad that they're not here anymore, so I can breathe a little bit. All right, so you're going to determine, are you going to do 3 and 3? You're going to do 3 meals and 3 snacks. Are you going to do 4 snacks and 2 meals, not 4 meals and 2 snacks, but 4 snacks and 2 meals? Or are you going to stick with 5 and 1? You can do that if you want to. You could do some days 3 and 3, some days 5 and 1, whatever works for you. The way that it doesn't have to be the same every day, but kind of create a general breakdown based on when you have a meal. It's going to be about 300 to 400 calories, right? So if you have 3 meals a day, you're probably going to be closer to 300, so that you still have some room left for snacks, because 300 calorie meals is 900 calories. Which means your other, if you were 1,400 like me, then I would be able to have about 125 to 150 calories for my 3 snacks, which is not bad. Oh, thank you, Diane. So you're going to figure that out. So what I usually do 4 and 2. So I usually have my 2 meals. Let me look at today, my lunch was 364 calories, which was a little higher, but that's because I had avocado with my lunch today. And my dinner was only 210. So typically, but altogether, so that's 570 calories. So I'm just close to 300 calories, basically, if you average it out. And that's kind of where I fall, is about 300, sometimes 350 calorie meals, which is about 700 calories. So let's figure that. 700 calories for my 2 meals, which, if I'm having 1,400 calories, leaves me 700 calories to spread over my 4 snacks, which gives me about 175 calories per snack. Now, I don't eat 1,400 calories. I actually usually eat closer to 1,200 calories. Today, if I eat everything that I planned, which I only have 1 meal left, which is one of my protein bars that I make, my total calories today is going to be 1,200. You see how this is almost a perfect day. So this is 1,222 calories. And I am like almost spot on my protein, fat, and carbs. So this is a pretty rare day for me to be this close. And it's nice that I did it today so that I can show you how this all works. But I start out, so if I figure 1,200 calories minus my 700 calories for my 2 meals, that leaves me 500 calories for the rest of the day, which I spread over 4 meals, which means I've got about 125 calories per each of those snacks. Sometimes I'm a little higher than that, and sometimes I'm a little bit lower than that. And the way that today worked out, because I ate a much lower calorie dinner, my breakfast of 170 calories, My snack, I did I got a Ninja Creamy, and so I made some ice cream with, but I use almond milk, the unsweetened almond milk, protein powder, and PB2 powder. So it's like a peanut butter chocolate ice cream, really good, really creamy. Um, and like 3 scoops of that ice cream was only 144 calories. Like, and it's high in protein, and it was a delicious snack. So, the first thing that I do usually in the morning is I kind of plan my day. And if I know what I'm going to have for dinner, I usually put that in, and my lunches are usually about the same thing. So I would encourage you just to like try to plan your day or plan some meals. Just play around with what happens if I have oats and applesauce. Oh, well, that's going to be this number of calories. It's a lot of carbs for that one meal. So if I have a really high carb meal, I want to make sure that I have a really high protein meal to follow that. Play with the what you put in. The program itself has every kind of food you can imagine is in there, but it also has a free scanner, so you can scan barcodes for things. I know that some of the programs, that's actually a paid feature, but for the Prosper app, it's actually free. Now, I did buy the paid version of Prosper recently because there's, when you add foods to the program, it kind of keeps a log of what you eat, so that when you start to type it, it'll pop up again. But if on the free app, it's a finite list. Like, once it'll start rolling things off of your list once you start adding new things, so the older things will roll off. And I had entered a few recipes at the beginning and then had to go back and re-enter them again. So I was just like, I'm just going to pay for this because I know I'm going to use this, and I don't want to have to keep looking up these recipes again. So that's why I paid for it. But that's the only feature that they have that I will utilize that is part of the paid app. They have like AI counseling and like coaching and things like that. And I don't. First of all, I don't need a computer coaching me. But anyway, each of the things, you can actually take things off very easily just by sliding to the right and hitting delete. A lot of times, if I want to know the macros of one thing that I ate, like one meal that I ate, I'll mark everything as that I haven't eaten it and just select that one meal, and then the macros will show up at the top. That's one thing that I get a little bit frustrated about, is that you kind of have to manipulate to figure out what the macros are for a meal, except for the very first thing that you eat during the day. Because it keeps a running total, but it doesn't tell you with each meal exactly what the macros are for that specific meal. So that's my only complaint with this particular app. But I've been using it long enough that I really like it. It also tracks water. I don't track my water anymore because I know I drink more than 64. I actually tried to make myself stop drinking a gallon of water, and I just found that I was getting too thirsty. So my body craves water. I will continue to drink a gallon of water a day because it makes me happy, and I love water. So anyway, so that's how you figure out macros in your TEE. That's how you use the Prosper app. I am happy to answer questions if anybody has any.
How long did it take you to figure out the 1400 was your number?
A few months.
Okay. Okay. Good,
Yeah.
good. Because my numbers were like almost 1800 on the calculator. I'm like, there's no way.
Well, I knew from the very beginning, and so my biggest recommendation that's why I said don't don't add a bunch of stuff back all at once. You know, don't add more than 50 to 100 calories back a day for a week or so and see what happens. Add that 100 calories a day, go for a few days, see what your weight does. And if you're fine, the next week, add another 50 to 100 calories, see what your body does. If you know, once you'll get to that point where your body's going to go, oh, yeah, no, I don't want that many calories. And so back off, maybe increase, if you want to eat more, increase your activity. So you're burning more calories if you want to eat more calories. So you might have to adjust your activity level. But, you know, listen to your body. That's, you know, listen to your body over an app. Listen to your body over some computer calculator, because we cannot all fit into what a computer says, because we're not computers. And so, you know, we can, you know, 3 or 4 of us could be the exact same height, the exact same weight, the exact same age. And our TEs, our bodies are going to burn fuel differently. Even if our TEE is exactly the same, they really are not exactly the same. And so that's why, you know, you just really have to be in tune with, don't be afraid to step on the scale, and don't be afraid to see the scale go up a couple of pounds and go, all right, that number is not good. I'm going to back off 100 calories for a week and see what happens, and see if I can get that number to go back down, and try to find that spot where you are staying fairly stable. I mean, our weight is going to go up and down every day. That's not abnormal at all. You just don't want it to go up and stay up. You've done a lot of work to take the weight off, and you don't want to just be, oh, okay, well, I gained all the weight back. Oh, no, you worked too hard. You worked too hard to get where you are. And I do not want to do that ever again. I don't ever want to have to eat 850 calories a day to take the weight off. I'm so grateful that I had the program and that I did it. So I'm not at all saying don't do that, but I don't want to go through that again. I've done it. It works, but I don't want to go back there. And so that's why I hold myself accountable every day to make sure that I'm not going back to that same spot.
I will say, I know we're doing the Zoom probably next week of chapter 17.
Yes.
Which I did that chapter today. So it's over adding more exercise. And that's my concern. Now, the past few months, I've been lifting like just 2-pound weights, a little bit here and there in the mornings, probably about 5 times a week, 6 times a week. But if I start adding in more, like listening to music, and I see me rocking in my chair, I'm adding some extra movements. I'm just wondering what that's going to do. How much more I might have to eat if I start doing aerobics, or a little bit heavier weight training, or, you know, adding some of that to my daily or weekly routine.
Yeah, I think, you know, increasing the protein, like I said, you know, if you're focusing more on building muscle, increase your protein. If you're focusing more on, you know, endurance kind of stuff, it sounds more like you're building muscle, so you want to do, you know, go a little air on the side of higher protein. Miriam, I would say, first of all, in Habits of Health, page 278 is a list of really good 100 calorie-ish items that you can get right out of your own refrigerator to kind of take the place of the fueling. So there's things like half of a small avocado, cauliflower, a cup of tomato and cucumber soup, just, you know, half of a red bell pepper and 3 tablespoons of hummus. Like I do that a lot. Those are really great, like Whole Foods. It's like almost 2 full pages of things there. Those are great options. I also did several Google searches of 100-calorie snacks, and I would find, like Men's Health and Women's Health and, Medline and different websites. Prevention has a list of like 100-calorie snacks or 200-calorie snacks. And that's what I kind of started out with until I kind of fell into a routine of what for me worked really well. If you've ever watched my what I eat in a day kind of stuff, I mean, like I eat almost the same thing every day. I always start out with yogurt and fruit. Almost every day, yogurt and fruit is my first thing that I have. So I'm starting out with protein and carbs. I love oatmeal, absolutely love oatmeal. And I would be very sad if somebody told me that I couldn't have it anymore. And that's almost always the second thing that I have every day is I do 1/3 of a cup of old-fashioned oats with about a cup of boiling water in a thermos, and it sits there for a couple of hours. And then I throw in some blueberries and a teaspoon, just not very much, but it is just enough of real maple syrup. So none of the fake stuff. Real maple syrup, and it's only like the maple syrup is only like 17 calories or something. It's ridiculous. It's carbs, but it's enough, just a little enough sweetness for me. And that's really my only like really carbohydrate strong meal. But that is typically right after I ride, like I try to ride my recumbent bike for about 30 to 45 minutes in the morning every morning. And so it's like right around that time that I'm doing it. So I feel good that my body burns those things off. I always do, lunch is almost always a huge salad with protein. Today was a little bit different. Today I actually did egg whites. Like I kind of did an egg white omelet with some zucchini and mushrooms and salsa and avocado. It was really good. That was an unusual lunch for me, but I really needed, I was really feeling like I needed the protein. Usually my afternoon snack is either an apple with almond butter, cottage cheese with some kind of a vegetable like cucumbers or cherry tomatoes. Today it was the ice cream, which is unusual, but I was feeling it this afternoon. And dinner tonight, I made clam chowder in a healthy way, without cream. For my husband yesterday, well, me and my husband, we ate it yesterday, and a serving of it is only like 250 calories or whatever, 210 calories, something. I was like, because I only use 2% milk in it, and not a lot of 2% milk. It's mostly broth and stuff. So anyway, it's really good. And that was my dinner again tonight. And then I will have one of my protein bars for dinner. So that's for my evening snack. So I eat pretty much the same thing with few variations, but that's what works for me. You just kind of have to find those foods that really appeal to you. And, if you want to use Optavia Fuelings, use Optavia Fuelings. If you want to buy your own Simply Protein bars from Costco are pretty good. If you need a candy bar fix, my strongest suggestion is go to Trader Joe's or order them from Amazon and get Bear Bells. Like it's literally like eating a candy bar. And I'm not a huge candy bar person, but every once in a while, something really sweet really hits the spot. And so I will do those every once in a while. I like Smart Pop popcorn or Skinny Pop. Yeah, Skinny Pop popcorn. But I have discovered Lesser Evil, which is even better. If you, Lesser Evil is made with coconut oil, and it is, you like don't even miss the butter on the popcorn because the coconut oil makes it taste like buttered popcorn. It is so good. And
where you get that?
You can buy it at Costco. You can also buy it, I get it from Thrive Market. They sell it in like little individual snack size bags that are only 50 calories for one of the little snack size bags. And they've got a couple of different flavors. They've got a Himalayan pink, and they've got a something gold, Himalayan gold, or I don't know. There's a couple of different ones that they have. But I really like that one. So anybody else have questions? You're welcome, Miriam. All right, I'm so glad you guys came, and
This was very, very
no,
helpful.
not net carbs, Diane. It is the net carbs is actually a creation of the diet industry, and you really need to go by total carbs. If you do some research and you read, I think WebMD, I think, has a really good article that explains why net carbs, you ignore that. It's a misnomer. The name of the popcorn that I like, Janice, is called Lesser Evil. Lesser Evil. So I always encourage you, please do your research. You know, don't take my word for it. I'm happy to be a voice of reason, but you know, you really do need to do your research and to confirm and verify that things are that what I'm saying is true. And I do really try to go by what is in the Optavia materials, and also do research as well, and read articles, which I did for tonight's little class. So I hope that that was helpful. To people who are watching the recording, please give the video a thumbs like and subscribe. Because this is going on my YouTube channel. 5,200, by the way. Yay! My subscribers are going up. That's really exciting. And Doheny bikes. So I did my little Doheny bike video, and we sent them the video yesterday, and they got back to my husband and they were like, oh, we loved the video. It was so great. Congratulations to your wife. And if you want to do some other videos for some of our products, we will send you some products and you can review. I was like, heck yeah. Send me a bike helmet, send me, like, I'll review all the stuff, just, you know. So that's pretty exciting that we got a little bit of, they're actually sending us saddlebags for, it'll probably go on my bike because we bought a trailer for David's bike. But for doing that review for them, they're sending saddlebags for my bike, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. So, but anyway, if you're watching the recording, I'm just going to say this for everybody else. If you happen to be still watching the recording and you have questions, please leave questions in the comments box down below. And to all of you who are here tonight, thank you so much for being here. It does my heart good to get together with you guys. And even if you don't talk to me, you're there, and it's fun. Did you really? I should, Lily, I'll go and check and see, because I should get some, I think I get like $10 or something. It'll be some discount off of my next order, which will be really cool. So I appreciate it. And I hope that you really like the probiotics. I am thrilled with them. I'm going to continue taking them. So, all right. That's all right. And you'll just have to watch the recording. I hope you got some good gardening done, though. I wish I was a gardener. I'm not much of a gardener. My husband does that. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed. Actually, I'm going to go watch YouTube videos. So
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank
you're
you so
welcome,
much.
guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys being here. And
We
until I
appreciate
see you
you.
next time,
Live in the light.
that's right. Live in the light. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.